You don't suck at UX design, you're just bad at hiring. After working with over 50 companies, I can confidently say the people running those teams diagnose the role problem. Hi, I'm Joe. Over the last 7 years, I've built Tori Consulting into a $50 million design consultancy, working with enterprise teams at NAB, Telstra, Australia Post, and scale-ups like Redbubble and Culture. I'll show you how to fix the problems that actually matter and how to build a team so good it puts you out of a job. I was talking to a design leader at a major superannuation fund. He moved his desk onto the engineering floor for 6 weeks. Every retro blamed design. Then they shipped. Fewer bugs, less rework. Overnight, it went from get design out to how do we get design in everything. Same problem, different diagnosis. They said things like, we're shipping, but nothing moves. Our UX needs work. Engineering's frustrated and we don't know why. And the answer was never what they thought it was. The reason I know this isn't because I've read about it. For the past 15 years, I've been sitting across the table from founders, CTOs, and product leaders, figuring out what their teams need and either finding the people or embedding my own. Over 50 companies, billion-dollar banks to startups that hit 50 million users in under 2 years. And the single most expensive pattern I've seen, hiring the wrong level of design capability for the stage the company was in. Today, I'm going to show you the pattern, explain why it's invisible, and give you a way to diagnose whether it's happening in your team right now. The pattern everyone misreads. What do most companies do when they hear those complaints? Every time, instinct is the same. Hire another designer, crank up sprint pressure, bring in another agency, but nothing changes because they were treating a symptom, not the disease. Think of it like plumbing. If there's a crack in the pipe at the source, it doesn't matter how good your tap is. You're still gonna get dirty water. And every meter of pipe between that crack and the tap makes it worse. Product defines scope with gaps. Design creates flows around those gaps. Engineering builds on assumptions. Then, edge cases surface. Stakeholders clarify late, sales flag misalignment, and everything reopens. That's not a design quality problem, that's a higher level problem. Nobody was hired to answer the hard questions before the build started. And here's the part that's going to make some of you uncomfortable. Most of the time, the person who wrote the hiring brief is the same person complaining about the output. That's not a dig, that's a pattern, and I've done it myself. I hired a design director once. We were expanding into a new region. She came through a referral of a very well-known director. Worked for one of the biggest consultancies, incredible clients, household names. She was personable, great cultural fit. We thought she'd be perfect. Her remit was 2 things: grow the client base in a new state and grow the headcount to service it. 9 months later, 0 new clients and 0 headcount growth. She supported the existing team culturally. People liked her, but she never took ownership of the function. She wasn't lazy. She was brilliant. However, if you give her a task that should take a day, she'd disappear into it for a week without coming up for air. We kept having to redirect her. She wasn't operating at director level. She was a senior practitioner who loved the craft, and we had put her into a leadership seat. At the end, we had to let her go because the region didn't grow, and growing the region was her job. Great resume, wrong level. Just cleaning my whiteboard. What rework actually costs? I want to give you a number. The average fully loaded cost of a senior software engineer in Australia is somewhere between $200,000 to $250,000 a year. If that engineer spends 20% of their time rebuilding things that should have been clarified before the build, that's $40,000 to $50,000 a year per engineer on rework. Multiply that across a team of 10. You're looking at close to $500,000 a year gone, and nobody tracks it. It doesn't show up on any dashboard. It just looks like we're slow. Let me get into what actually happens, because this is the part that nobody talks about. Rework is not just annoying, it's structural debt. When I was placing designers through my hiring business, I learned something early. The most expensive hire isn't the one that you pay the most for, it's the one that causes the most rebuilds around them. And now I embed my own design team into product organizations. I see the proof of that every single week. Rework costs you. Engineering capacity, your most expensive line item. Sprint delays that cascade across the quarter. Lost experimentation cycles you'll never get back. Team morale. Engineers don't leave because they have hard problems. They leave because of repeated problems. And leadership trust, Once that's lost, it's nearly impossible to rebuild. If your team rebuilds one meaningful feature per quarter, just one, you'll probably burned more money than hiring the right person would have cost. And nobody runs that hidden math until it's too late. So let me break this down, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. Level 1, the execution designer. This person delivers what's asked. You hand them a brief, they produce the output. Good craft, clean work, but they're always waiting for direction. Level 2, the strong midweight. This person improves what's asked. They push back on a bad brief, they tighten the flow. Better, but still reactive. Level 3, the operator. This person challenges what's asked. They run discovery before design, talking to customers, not just reading tickets. They get sales, engineering, and product aligned before sprint 1, not during it. They connect design decisions to commercial outcomes, not just user flows. They're the person who walks into a roadmap session and asks the questions nobody wants to ask. And that question eliminates 3 weeks of rework before it starts. I was talking to the director of research and design at a recruitment tech platform, and he described exactly this. His team started inside product, mostly doing UI. He built out his own function, got the CTO brought in, started running research that went straight to the CEO. Same company, same people, completely different altitude. Here's the problem. Most scale-ups, 50 to 500 people, hire level 1 or 2, but they're operating in an environment that demands level 3. That mismatch is where the rework lives. And no one notices because the design aren't doing bad work. They're doing the wrong work at the wrong altitude. This is the part I see everyone get wrong. By the way, if any of this sounds familiar, check out what we actually do, links below. Now, back to the video. So, I'll give you 2 real examples. Ag tech company, big operation, stakeholders who aren't in tech. Some of them literally are farmers. The design manager comes to us and says, these designers are brilliant when you give them a defined problem, but that's not what we've got. And it was right. The environment was ambiguous, multiple stakeholders, different priorities. Half of them didn't speak technology. They needed someone who could zoom out and bring people together before it became a mock-up. Instead, they had people going straight into the detail. Level 1 operators in a level 3 environment. Once we shifted the profile, systems thinkers, not just craft specialists, the work changed. Not because the designs got prettier, because the right conversation started happening before anyone opened Figma. Now, most people hear that and think, right, so I just need someone more senior, bigger brands on the resume. No, I've watched startups hire designers out of big enterprises. Perfect resumes, household names. And those people freeze when there's no process to follow. Enterprise is structured. The role is defined. You drop that same person into a 40-person startup with no playbook and ambiguity everywhere, and the operating system doesn't match. It's not a skills problem, it's a stage problem. That's momentum. Momentum isn't how fast you ship once, it's how little you have to ship twice. I'm going to say something that is hard to hear, but I think you need to hear it. If you're a head of product, a CTO, a founder carrying the product function, and you're the one personally answering every unclear question for the team every sprint, you're not leading, you're subsidizing. You're subsidizing the hiring mistake with your own time. And your time is the most expensive resource in the company. I see it constantly, and the people doing it are usually the most competent people in the room. That's the irony. The better you are at compensating, the longer the problem goes unnoticed. I know this because I've built 3 versions of the same business trying to solve it. Hiring, staff augmentation, now a design consultancy. And across all 3, the answer was never more people. It was the right person, the right level, the right stage. I just had to burn through a lot of wrong hires, my own and my clients, before I saw it clearly. This isn't about blaming your designers. It's about hiring for the system you're actually running, not the one you wish you had. Before you say our UX isn't good enough, I want you to ask yourself the question that describes your last design hire. Because if you hired for output and you're wondering why momentum isn't building, now you know why. Every product leader I've worked with who's made this shift said the same thing afterwards. Not our designs got better, but my stakeholders started trusting the roadmap again because they stopped being the person who had to hold everything together. If you liked what I had to say and want to talk about whether this is happening in your team, links below. We'll tell you if it's a hiring level problem or not. If it's not, we'll say so.